Let's talk a bit about authorization and protecting our application from unwanted people. Remember, we are exposing some data to the internet via our REST API, and we don't want everyone to have access to this data. For example, in our case, we have a REST Asciens database, which includes names and emails of people, and probably those are not public, right? So we need a way for people to authorize us with our application before handing over data to them. So for example, whoever tries the REST Asciens endpoint, which lists everyone that we have in our database, there should be a way somehow for them to specify authorization info, and then only afterwards we return the data to them. If we do not properly authorize them, then they shouldn't see anything. They should probably see an error, right? There are multiple ways to achieve that. We have different methods of authorization, but the most simple one that we will use in this lesson is the basic authorization. This is an HTTP standard. It is working by specifying a header whenever you make a request, and always including that header. This header looks something like this: so authorization, basic, and then the credentials. Authorization is the key of the header, and then the rest is the value of the header. Basic is the type of authorization. We have also other kinds of authorization, like bearer, for example, but yeah, in this lesson we will stick with basic. And then credentials. Credentials are actually username and password, like separated by a colon. For example, Wikipedia has a very nice example down here. If we have Aladdin username and Open Sesame as password, then we separate them by colon. Then we have something like this, without the comma, of course. So we have this, and then we need to base64 encode this in order to set it in the header. So we will not set the clear plain text version of username and password to the header, but we will base64 encode it. This is not for security, but it's about transporting this value over the internet. So anyone can base64 decode our credentials in here. So even having them in base64 encoding will not help if someone has access to this header, and if someone sees the logs of this header, means that they can guess our credentials. That's why this authorization method is called basic, because it is not complicated, and usually you want HTTPS to be in between. Whenever you have a client talking to a server using this header, you want HTTPS to be in between, and of course you trust that the server will not somehow log this request somewhere containing this header, because anyone then that has access to these logs, they can easily guess, or not guess, but basically decode this value and see our credentials. But okay, for this course, for the purpose of this course, this is a good enough method. In our case, to implement something like this in our endpoints, we need some kind of a mechanism that will receive the header, somehow parse it, so decode it first, base64 decode this value, and then afterwards, after decoding is done, checking credentials, and if the credentials are valid, only then and afterwards display the JSON that usually our endpoints display. Otherwise, we should give some kind of an error. In this case, we use the HTTP status code 401. But yeah, let's go ahead and see the implementation first hand.